Back in 2008, I won the $1 million. I had just bought a book called The Secret, not long before, maybe just a couple of months beforehand, and I said, is everything okay? And she said, you've won something. I said, oh, that's good, that's nice. And she said, but it's really big. I started getting goosebumps. I said, well, you've won $1,027 and whatever cents it was. And I'm just like, whoa.
Welcome to Lottery Dreams and Fortune. So I am so excited to be joined here by Gary. He won $1 million from the lottery from Australia. He's from Australia. He is the first lottery winner from Australia on this program. I am so unbelievably excited. Gary, how are you doing today?
Mate, I'm very good, thanks, mate. Really, really good. Good to be on your show. This is absolute honor.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know that we're recording here in the United States and it's Australia, so it's morning where you are and evening where I am. This is 2008. You won $1 million. What exactly was this prize and how did it happen?
Well, this was, we have some weekday lottery draws and some other ones in between. This was the most common one where it pays $1 million for the Monday and Wednesday and Friday draw. So, yeah, and back in 2008, I won the $1 million. But the route to that was I had just bought a book called The Secret, not long before, maybe just a couple of months beforehand, and I read the book with interest, thinking, this book seems a little bit far-fetched, but it certainly piqued my interest, and I kept going, and one day I walked into Kmart, and I had these visions where I was just imagining myself in the future where everything was going to be okay. I felt completely relaxed, completely at ease, like just comforted, and this magic feeling coming over me when I was just staring into nothing, trying to have these daydream and lost myself completely in the middle of the store. Anyway, once that was gone, I walked across to the news agency, which was like a 50-metre walk from Kmart, and I bought my weekly lottery ticket for, I think it was about $32. And as I was walking to the counter to buy my ticket, this Sheila, a girl, walked in front of me and sort of pushed in front of me, but I didn't think anything of it other than, oh, that's a bit rude. And she, so anyway, she had her turn. She got the ticket that she wanted, and then I got my random pick and put it in my wallet, thought nothing of that, carried on with the day. And then the draw was on the 8th of December 2008. That was when it was drawn. I knew nothing. I didn't even check the ticket. The week went along. As the week went along, there was a huge thunderstorm in the middle of the week, and I remember my pants and getting saturated, and my wallet was in there, and my wallet got wet. And I remember thinking about the ticket, so I pulled the wallet out. And I checked the ticket, it was still dry. I thought, cool, that's good, everything's fine there. The money was a bit wet, but it's plastic money in Australia, so that's good. And so then on the 13th of December, I went to check the ticket at the news agency, because they check the ticket and then I'll buy a new ticket. And the lady took so long to validate the ticket. I thought maybe the system had gone down. She'd taken quite a while, actually, and I said, is everything okay? And she said, you've won something. I said, oh, that's good, that's nice. And she said, but it's really big. I started getting goosebumps, because I thought, oh, that might be good. It might pay for the clutch I just had fixed on one of my cars, because that cost me like $1,200, and I was thinking, oh, it'd be nice to cover that cost. And she said, it's more than that. So eventually she put me on the phone. She made a phone call to the lottery agent and put me on the phone to a bloke. And I said to him, mate, how much have I won? And he said, is anybody around you? I said, no, it's just me and the lady. And He said, well, you've won $1,027 and whatever cents it was. And I'm just like, whoa, that's insane. Like, I can really cool. I can buy a house. I can buy things. I can feel relaxed. It was a fantastic feeling. And I remember walking away from the news agency after signing a bunch of stuff inside, which he had submitted to the head office. And I walked home and I'd called my dad, and he's like, talking to me like I was full of, there's no way. But I went down to visit him. He was an hour's drive away. I drove down there and I showed him all the evidence, and he was in disbelief too. So it was really good. And it was nice because in Australia they pay you the lottery 2 weeks after you win it, or 2 weeks after you've identified the win. And it happened to be paid to me on Christmas Eve. So on Christmas Eve, I went to the bank and transferred $40,000 to my dad's account. So that way he really believed it, So
Congratulations. I have so many questions. I know you mentioned that you were reading the book The Secret, and I want to ask more about that in a little bit. But before I get to that, the moment that you found out that you won, how did it feel?
Surreal. I guess that's the same word answer you get off everybody. I was feeling a bit seedy that day. I think I'd had a big night the night before, and I woke up not feeling the best prior to this. So getting that win, I still felt seedy, but there was a little bit more oomph in me, and just trying to wrap my head around everything because I wasn't very calculative that day. And but the surrealness of it, like from one minute I'm in this situation, and the next minute I'm in another situation. It was just mind-blowing, the whole process, the whole thing, going out the back of the news agency with the lady to sign forms so that no one could see us or hear us talk about it. And then after I'd won it, I called head office maybe three times, annoying them just to validate that this was real, because I didn't believe it. And luckily for me, head office is about a 40-minute drive from my home. So I actually drove down there one day just to see face to face, because, was it really me? And yes, it's really you. And would you like to do an interview? So like a verbal interview, so we can write it up in one of the stories that they put in the lottery website. Of course, they don't identify your name here, so everything's anonymous.
Is that a choice, or is that just blanket how it is for everybody, that you're anonymous if you win?
Yeah, that's just blanket across the board. You win, no one knows who you are, and you don't pay tax either. So
that's amazing. So you actually got the whole million. When you say that you win $1 million, you actually get the $1 million, as opposed to the United States in some places where they heavily tax it and other things.
Yeah, the whole kit and caboodle, mate. I got it all. A whole lot.
Wow. So how did they pay you? What was the redemption process like?
Well, they just put it into your bank account 2 weeks later. And in this case, it was Christmas Eve, and it was midnight on the nose, because I kept waiting, looking at the bank account online. It was just looking at the website, waiting. And when it appeared, it was like, there it is. I couldn't sleep, of course. So I had a lot of sleepless nights after that.
You had a lot of sleepless nights. What was the exhilaration like? Because I find that interesting, because a lot of people that win major prizes are similar. That's the way I was, and a lot of people I've met. So what was going through your mind, and why couldn't you, I know, and it's obvious to a lot of people, but why couldn't you sleep? Yeah,
well, I think in my case too, it was maybe a little bit different to yours, because I won $1 million. And at that time, as time goes on, you process it and you realise, oh, hang on, this is not enough to retire and, just spend the rest of your life sitting in the Bahamas sipping on pina coladas. No, you've literally got to now be a bit conservative with this. So part of that feeling of sleepless nights also included a bit of lack, and a bit of fear for losing it. And I'm pretty sure 2008 we were going through the GFC, and so at that time I'd worried about scams, taking the money. Can I get money back if it gets stolen from my bank or from the government? At that time, I believe the government promised $1 million back for any sort of scams or whatever fraudulent activities that came out of your account, that they would guarantee a replacement of the money. So that eased the fear a little bit, but then I had to start thinking about being conservative with it and how to make it last and what I can do with it. And yeah, but I guess if it was to be something, I think you were 23 million minus tax, that you can sit back a bit more, and say, well, that's it now, I'm done, I don't have to work, I can do what I want, sort of thing. And it's that's a nice feeling. So for me, it was a bit of both, the joy and the fear.
Yeah, that makes sense. And were you afraid of people trying to get the money from you as well? You kind of alluded to that. Was that true? Or
no? I was at that time naive and ignorant. I didn't know if it could be stolen from the account by scam artists, hacking into the account or whatever. But other people around me in general, nobody knew about it except my father. That's it.
And he didn't believe you initially, and is that right? And
he didn't believe.
How did the people around you react once they did know that you won this massive prize?
Well, it was, as I said, it was only my dad, so nobody else knew. So it was pretty easy to hide from everybody. So Dad didn't tell anyone because I asked him not to. I said, if you tell anyone, they're all going to come asking for bits and pieces, so let's just keep it between you and me. And he did. Sadly, he didn't live much longer after that. He passed away about 14 months later, and my mother had passed away 3 years earlier, so he was mourning her for a long time. But that money gave him a bit of freedom to pursue a hobby that he enjoyed very much, which was photography. And so he was able to purchase from the $40,000 I gave him some digital SLR cameras with the big lenses, the little macro lenses, and he had a ball just going places and shooting pictures and sending them to me. And so, I'm very grateful that his last year or so was spent a little bit more preoccupied with something that he can enjoy rather than fixated on the loss of Mum. So that was good.
Yeah, that sounds like really a blessing, like very positive. And Did you invest some of the winnings, or what exactly did you do for yourself?
I bought a house, I bought a motorbike, I bought a Jeep. I like Jeeps. And I just had fun. I just had fun. And the investment is the house, I guess. Other than that, I just bought everything was secondhand that I bought, like the Jeep, the motorcycle, etc. So I was conservative in that area, and just enjoyed life. Had a few years off because back then interest rates were about 6.5%. So you're getting like $65,000 a year from the interest. The house came a few years later, so it was nice to just live off that and look outside if it was a stormy, rainy, miserable, cold winter's day and people are going to work with umbrellas, and wet feet and trodden through all that crap, and I'm just sitting outside watching them going, because I didn't have to go out there. So it was a good feeling.
Yeah, and speaking of work, I don't know if you consider this work, but you've been an extra in some major Hollywood movies that I want to ask about. But I know there are many people watching this show, before I get to that are very much into manifestation and believe in manifestation, including many scientists and others that I've interviewed on this channel, several lottery winners of all kinds of amounts. And you mentioned that you had read The Secret, or that you were reading it prior to this win. Do you attribute that to part of this win? Do you think you manifested this win? What are your thoughts?
The majority of my belief in that would be, yes, I do think that was a manifestation. There's a bloke in the book that manifested or wanted to manifest $100,000 to try out the secret for himself. I forget the bloke's name, but if anyone that knows the secret knows this guy, he went for $100,000. He wrote up a check for himself, and I think he put it on the ceiling of his bedroom so that he would look at it before he goes to bed at night. And evidently, it came to fruition. He said it wasn't 100,000. I think it was like 98,000 blah 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 dollars is what he got, but close enough. And so I thought that's not a bad idea. So I went to my bank online and printed out a statement, but I'd edited it first. The screenshot, printed out the statement, and put it next to my bed and looked at it every night. And that was for $1 million. So whatever was in there at the time, maybe $300 or something, I took that off, wrote $1 million, and kept looking at it. And didn't think much of it. I was just sort of new to the secret and not taking it too much to heart, but very, very intrigued by it all, and really tried to encapsulate it and get into it and believe it. And then just sort of forgot about it. And that was it. And weeks, a couple of months later, it all just happened. And I have to say that that's a heck of a coincidence.
Yeah. I mean, so you looked at this every night after you read about this person doing this in The Secret, and you changed it to be $1 million, and then you won this amount. How did that feel? Like, after that happened, did you put the two together?
Not straight away. It took a while. It felt like maybe there's something bigger out there, you know. You yourself, you've dreamt your win. You dreamt the win, and you got it. And then apparently you've had more dreams afterwards that have come to fruition. So I guess you know it a lot better than me, and I'm very envious of that. You know it a lot better because you've had more experiences where you could attribute something to your win, and life just gets a little bit different and a little bit more. You get a little bit more inquisitive because it becomes a bit more magical, because perhaps you can control and have things that you want just by thought and belief. You've got to believe.
Yeah, it's incredible. Just the whole field. I mean, just the whole subject is really amazing, and it is amazing. And I've had so many dreams, like you mentioned, about things before they've happened in real life, and continue to, other than, well, in addition to the lottery. But I mean, it can't just be a coincidence, that type of thing. And I don't think.
No.
But
sorry, your outlook now is like there's something bigger out there. Is that how you feel about it all?
I do. I mean, it almost feels like after I won back in 1999, it felt like I was in the Matrix or something, and that movie came out around that time, and I'm really dating myself, but it just felt like being part of something much bigger than what we perceive in our physical bodies, that our energy is part of something greater. I was like, who is pulling the strings out here? But the more, a lot of the manifestation leaders and coaches and people that speak on that say that it comes from the inside. But what do you think about that?
Well, how did you feel prior to your dream winning the lottery? Did you have any dreams before that came true, or did you feel like were you influenced by anything to that might have made that dream happen, like the Matrix, or were you into this secret sort of thing, even though the book had not come out? But of course, there was many predecessors before Rhonda Byrne's who had given this thought to the rest of us, but I hadn't known about any of it myself until now. Were you reading anything about those things? Did you have any influence?
I wasn't reading anything. I didn't even know what the word manifestation meant at the time, but I had dreams about things before they happened in real life, and I knew the difference, for me at least, how it felt within the dream. It was much more real and much more vivid. And so when I had that particular dream, it was the same type. And my mindset, I was selling lottery tickets because I was working at a gas station. So it was already on my mind that it was possible to win, but I didn't necessarily believe that I was going to win, even though I knew that I was going to play. I didn't necessarily believe that until this dream that was so real that it had already happened. And I was like, wow. It's like, it convinced me. And then I started telling people that it was going to happen. And some people think that's a coincidence, and a lot of people think that it's not. And I'm not here to convince anybody, but I find it really, really interesting.
Well, the fact that you believed that it was going to happen after the dream, like you just said, I believed it to the extent where I was telling everybody. Even just telling everybody puts that belief more inside of you as well, and it opens up a whole new field, because everyone else is probably starting to, give power to that as well. Who knows? But yeah, that's the belief is the big deal, I guess, and. It's amazing that you had not had any influence prior to that, and then this dream comes up and bang. And I was the same. I didn't believe I was going to win a big lottery. I didn't discount it either, but I never thought about it. And when it happened, it was, whew, yeah. So that's good. That's interesting to know that. I wondered if you'd had anything prior. So to have not had any of that, and it just happens, exciting, weird.
Yeah. It is.
Did you imagine the amount exactly?
No, I didn't know the amount. I just knew that it felt life changing. Like I had already won, and it felt life changing. And the first thing I thought was I could pay off my debt and I could pay off my vehicle. And I woke up, and it's one of those dreams where it was like really hard to get my bearings and understand that it hadn't already happened. And so that's how it felt to me. And then I subsequently told people after that I believed that it was going to happen, and other people told me that too, and it reinforced this belief that I already had that it was going to happen. And some people thought I was just joking, or oh, that Tim. Yeah. But it was just so real. And subsequently after the dream, I told other people that I was going to win, and some people believed me. Well, they told me that if anybody's going to win, it's going to be you. And that just reinforced my belief that I was going to win. And so when it did happen, it was just really surreal. Like I felt like I was living in a movie or something. But for you, you had read The Secret. You believed that you were at least open-minded to this, because you were looking at this check every night for $1 million, or this bank account that you had created in Photoshop. And then you won that amount. I mean, it had to have just been really crazy. Have you manifested anything else, or do you think you might have manifested other things in your life, or anything else, other stories that you have with that sort of thing?
I don't know if, I guess I possibly manifested things to the extent where I'm thinking, this person, I'm just thinking of this person, and maybe hours later, that person who I have not heard or seen for ages, I might just bump into them. It's like, whoa, or someone might text me out of the blue that I was thinking of. So those sort of things, people, perhaps some sort of minor outcomes, but nothing to the extent where I can, remember it very well, like $1 million, which you just sort of don't forget that kind of thing. But I am going to manifest a new amount, which so now what I've done, I've taken a screenshot on my phone of the bank account, edited that with the editing tools provided by the phone, and then changed it now, my bank account, to $50,149,768.40. So that's the amount that's going to come next. I'm going to manifest that, and then I'll be back on your show. So
that is very precise. Where did that number come from?
I don't know. It just came, and it didn't come from a dream or anything. It just came. I wrote it down. I said, I want to win, or I'm going to win the $50 million Oz Lotto. It's another lottery we have here on Tuesdays. and it's OZ, which is an abbreviation for Australia, Lotto. And my nickname is Boz, B-O-Z. So I've just also taken a screenshot of that Oz Lotto header and put a B of the same colour, which is green, in front of the OZ. So I look at that and say, yeah, that's Boz Lotto. I'm going to get $50 million, and I guess there might be a little bit of surplus in that $50 million to make up the additional $149,000. So that's where we're going next, Tim.
Wow. Well, I look forward to that. I love that. You mentioned the Oz, but what are the most popular lottos or lotteries in Australia? Because I know there's a Powerball that it's different than the one in the United States, but it's a very popular game as well.
Yeah, and I think I'm sure they get more popular when they increase in value because they didn't go off the first week or the second week. So a lot of people get into it when it's 50 million or 100 million. I think the biggest we've had here is 200 million. So I would say the most popular is when they get to a sizable amount. The most frequent ones are the three through the week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, valued at $1 million. And then you have your Saturday Lotto, which is mostly $5 million. And then you get your Oz Lotto on a Tuesday and your Powerball on a Thursday, which is the hardest one to win because you've got to pick 7 numbers and a Powerball number. And your 7 numbers, I think, come from a selection of 32 numbers you choose, and your Powerball is from 20 numbers. I think that's about right. Maybe it's 35 for the initial part. So that's a hard one to win, but people have won it, and people have shared. I'm sure there was $150 million one once where 3 people shared it. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's amazing. And we definitely hope to get more people on this. Well, we will get more people from Australia coming onto this program. But when you purchased this ticket, you mentioned that there was a Sheila or a woman or a girl that cut in front of you in line. And so do you think that, theoretically speaking, that it could have gone a different way if she hadn't done that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm sure she did me a favour because I guess if you think about it, let's say there's 100 lottery agents around Australia at that time going off giving people auto pick tickets. So the timing of that meant I had to get those numbers at that exact time because let's assume that someone else in Western Australia or Queensland or whatever are also doing it at almost the same time as me. They're getting their ticket. Because she intervened, I happened to have got the timing right and she helped me win that money. Or perhaps I could have gone first, she could have gone behind me, and she might have got it. I bet she's kicking herself if she watches this, but then again, she probably doesn't even remember.
Yeah, 'cause it's such a beautiful thing that in Australia you can claim prizes anonymously. That is really great. Yeah. And the day that you purchased the ticket, you said that you were in a really relaxed mood, but your mindset, other than maybe being slightly annoyed that she cut in front of you, what were you thinking? Because some people that are really into manifestation want to know.
Yeah, well, I was when I was in Kmart and I became fixated looking at a gift for my father, a CD, I think it was. I just started staring at the CDs and I was a little bit insecure about the future financially wise, and I started thinking about, I've got this coming in and I've got that happening, and by the time I'm 65, I'll get the pension, and you know what? It's going to be all right. I've got the time to make the money. I've got this amount now. Everything's going to be all right. And just thinking about that, I felt comfortable with what I had and what I've got now. And I felt so relaxed. And I had this big smile on my face at the end, and I'm like, yeah. And we were just leading into the Christmas holiday, so there was that to look forward to as well. And I just felt really, really comforted, having gone into this daydream. And it was, then I walked across to the news agency where the Shield had cut in front of me, but I didn't feel annoyed. I was on a high that day, so I was just like, I was more shocked a little bit as to why you would do that, because it was quite abrupt. And obviously she was in a hurry, but she didn't say anything. And I'm a sort of bloke that'll just talk to anyone and have a conversation, but she was just abrupt and, okay, well, that's you. I hope you have a good day. And that was it. So there were no ill feelings. I felt good the whole day. Funnily enough, the day I didn't feel well was the day I found out I'd won the money, because I was seedy that day. But yeah, but everything I'd forgotten. I didn't think about the statement that I'd altered. I didn't think about the secret. That had all just been something I'd do overnight. Even if I was doing it then anymore, I don't know. At that stage, I'm sure I was still looking at it. And even when the movie came out, I started watching that, because that's spot on to the book. Everything you read is exactly what comes on the screen. And that was a lot easier for me to watch that. But I didn't think about any of that stuff. It just happened. And I think it's one of those things, as I've gone on and watched videos of Jim Carrey or those sort of people, they say you've got to think about it and let it go. And I did. Inadvertently, I just let it go and didn't even know I'd done that. And now I think as we get more and more into our heads from the internet, having more access to manifestation and things, we put a lot more in, and maybe we're overcomplicating it more. Maybe it really is a matter of less is more. And you probably, what I did, manifested it because I seemed to have followed it by the book, the way they say you're supposed to do it, but totally unintentional.
Which was not having resistance, or which was just letting it go, or what was that? What is the way that they do that in the book?
Well, and not so much when I say by the book, I mean by the book of what we're being showed when we look at manifestation and how to do it. A lot of the times they'll tell you to think of what you want, believe it, and let it go. The rest will take care of itself. You have to believe that it's going to happen. And I know that I had nights where I had read the book, looked at my $1 million statement that I'd edited, and I made myself believe, and I felt this feeling of it's mine, it exists, it's real, it's there, but then I'd let it go because I guess I was new to the whole thing, and I, we'll go back to this tomorrow maybe. Yeah, so it just let go easily. Now I think if we try too hard, we don't let it go as easily, because we constantly try to think about it. And if you constantly try to think about it, perhaps you're not really convinced that you have it. If you can think about believing that you've already got it, that's different. But not to try too hard to try and manifest it every day, I think, because that's what I did. I just had a quick look. That's my statement. Wow, I love looking at that. Put it away. Come back to you another day.
And when you did look at that and say, oh, I love looking at that, did you feel as if you already had it, or were you just hoping to have it?
No, I felt like I had it, because here it was on my statement, and this is when editing and all that was kind of new, and so my belief was more, because I've actually got a sheet of paper which says it's got $1 million on it, and my head's like, wow, that's my name there, and that's my bank account numbers, and that's $50 million, and it was a lot easier to really believe in it then, like it was just, I really believed it was in my bank account. Yes. Yeah, but I didn't believe it every day, because I didn't think about it every day. like, I could go to work in the morning and totally have forgotten what I'd done. But at that moment, yes, I believed it.
That's really interesting. And the reason why I asked about that is because so many people, scientists who believe in this sort of thing, and many people who teach it will say that it's the the feeling of already having it rather than the hope of wanting to get there. It's like you are the
Yeah,
feeling of already having it. So
yeah. And a lot of people will that I might have talked to, they will talk about manifestation to the extent where they will say, "I'm going to get that. I'm going to manifest it," but they're feeling at that time, they're feeling the lack. They're feeling that they don't have it. They're feeling that they've already got a lack in their account in this, when it comes to money. And when you feel that, it doesn't help to manifest because you're feeling lack. And that's the same, like when with me, I didn't feel that. And then when I had that moment of relief, everything's going to be okay. That took, because I was feeling lack before I went into Target, because I just spent $1,200 on getting a clutch fixed. It was Christmas. I got to buy people presents. And then I just lost myself in that moment where I was, everything's going to be okay. The lack just totally went, and I felt overcome with comfort.
wow, that had to have been the best Christmas ever.
Yeah, that was a beauty. It's hard to top that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also have done some really exciting things with your career or your path. Like you've acted in some major, major movies as an extra. So what have you been in, and can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So having that freedom to not have to work, I was traveling around a fair bit, going into the city to eat food because there's a lot of different, we have a very multicultural society here in Australia. And so, I can get food from anywhere in Sydney. So I go there quite a lot to eat different cultural foods. And I was walking past a building around about 2015 or 16, and the woman came out to me and approached me, and she said to me, "Would you like to be an extra in a movie?" I said, "Sure, why?" And I thought maybe I'm like really handsome and she wants me for that. She says, "Are you bald?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, you don't have to shave your head then, because we want people with shaved heads, or those willing to be an extra in the movie Alien Covenant." And so I thought, well, this sounds exciting. Why not? I'll give that a go. So like a month later or something, I'm now going to the studios near my home, and they're shaving my arms and putting makeups on me, shaving people's heads in this place in the studio, and checking for costumes to wear, etc. And then on the day of the shoot, we all had all the makeup put on, all the clothing, and I was the last one to come out. So everybody had their established roles, but I hadn't been out yet. I was the last one. And there was one bloke that was picked to be the main guy that yells out when this black death cloudy thing comes down. He was supposed to yell out, "Run," and run away. But then the director, he saw me come at the last minute, and because I'm quite tall, 6'5", and I looked really ugly, like they made me look ugly, he's like, "Get that bloke, get him over here." So I went over there, and he picked me for that part. I really felt sorry for the other bloke, but that's the way the mop flops sometimes. So we did that, and I think it was about 10 or 15 times yelling out to this big crane that was up in the sky. That was meant to be the spaceship, but you look up at the top of the crane and you yell out, "Run!" and you run away and look back, and that scene is in the movie, and they changed the word "run" to some alien thing, which is more like a. He kind of screams something like that, and so that gave me the opportunity to be in that movie. A few Australian TV shows. One of them was a warehouse bloke in a show called. Actually, I don't know what it was called, but the main protagonist is a guy called Roger Rogerson, which was a corrupt cop here in Australia. And then about 2 years ago, I was an extra on Mad Max Furiosa, the one with Chris Hemsworth that's just come out. Yeah, so I was riding the bikes in that, and his father was riding the bikes with us because his father was in it, his kids was in it, his wife, and we were all together. So like in the Alien movie, I didn't see any big stars. We were just us, and they sort of put us with them with the editing. But with this, like you talk to Chris Hemsworth, you talk to all the stars that are there, all the blokes that are the main protagonists, have breakfast with them, and it was fantastic. It really, really was. The only thing is they want you to get up at like 4 a.m., get onto the movie set at 5 a.m., and both times I did those movies, it was winter, middle of winter. So rainy, freezy, cold, windy, but a lot of fun. And the food, Tim, the food. Oh, those blokes are fed really well. Like that food is insanely good, and you can have as much as you want.
What was it? What were you eating?
Oh, I don't. There was like a buffet of food. You just help yourself, pile it on your plate, go back for seconds. But you don't want to have seconds because then it's really hard to run if you've got to run in a movie, But it was just unbelievable, unbelievable. The food and that's why after the first movie I thought, yeah, I'll do this Mad Max thing because I want the food. So, but that was a great opportunity. I talked to Chris Hemsworth's kids because they noticed me and said, "Oh, you look great," blah blah blah. Just nice. I mean, they're people, obviously, just like us, but it was just nice to be involved in that. And when I watch him do the scenes in that movie, I haven't watched the movie, but I have seen the shorts and some of the scenes he's done. I watched him do that, so it was good. Mind you, he didn't even have a shirt on. I say they're just like us, but he didn't even have a shirt on, and it was freezing cold. He didn't even have any goose pimples on his arms. Like, how's he doing that? They must have sprayed him with something. I don't know.
Wow, well, that's movie magic for you right there.
Yeah.
And he's such a huge celebrity, A-list celebrity. But what was it like? Can you say briefly what he was like in real life?
Well, when he'd finished his scene, he'd seem to walk away with his missus. They'd go off to a caravan to have their own moment, I guess. Maybe rest for the next thing. As a person, he was very approachable. He was talking to a lot of the cast people that he'd known or that he knew. He walked over to them, shook their hand. You could see him having a conversation with those people, and he was great. And his father was great. I had a long talk with his dad. As we were waiting for our next scene, we'd just talk, and I didn't even know it was his dad at the time, though. I was just, there's a bloke having a bit of a gas bag. I'll go and chat to him, and walked around, talked to people, and then there was that, I don't know the names of the character, but that little short, bald bloke that apparently he's a big deal. He was a lovely guy, he talked a lot, and I talked a lot with him. But yeah, Chris Hemsworth as a person seemed to be just a normal, regular bloke and approachable. Not like you. I guess I remember in Alien Covenant, I think it was. They said, don't talk to the stars. Don't talk to. No, it wasn't that movie. It was the series Roger Rogerson, because there was a couple of big Australian stars in there who had also done some big movies in America, and they said, don't talk to them, don't approach them, this, that, and the other. So I kept that same mentality when I went and did the Mad Max thing, but it was totally different. And then there was the director, and I'm sorry, mate, I forgot your name, of the Mad Max movie. He came over to me and talked to me, and just in general, and said, "Oh, you look good, and how you going, and how do you feel?" And I'd ask him stuff, and everyone was just really, really approachable.
And this was Mad Max Furiosa, is that right? or the one
The
before that?
latest one. Yeah.
2024.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Looks like the director is George Miller.
George Miller, that's it. Sorry,
So
George.
yeah, 168 million budget is what the interwebs are telling me. But that's has to
Uh,
be an incredible experience. That's something you couldn't have done before you won this lottery prize. Is that right?
I wouldn't have contemplated it. You know, you've got to take a few weeks off work. For the Mad Max was a couple of weeks, and I wouldn't have considered it. I think because I was approached the first time in the city in the middle of the day, I wouldn't have been in the city in the middle of the day otherwise. So when that Sheila approached me and asked me, that opened it up, and I thought, yeah, this is an experience. Let's do this because this money has given me the opportunity to have many experiences. You know, owning a motorbike and two cars, and having a house, and having time off work and relaxing, and watching people go to work in shitty weather, and so it's given a lot of opportunities, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
And what is your advice? We have people listening and watching this podcast from all over the world playing. Many people play different lotteries. What is your advice for anyone that wins 1 million?
Oh, advice. Well, maybe my advice would be to seek financial advice. I guess if you're already set up, like you own your house or you're retired, that money's going to be a lot easier to not be too concerned about. Spend a bit of it, enjoy it. Don't be too worried about it. I think I spent way too many months worrying about it, and in the end, everything's going to be okay. Don't worry too much about it. But I think the best thing for $1 million is to seek financial advice. If you are still young, still working, don't think it's going to set you up for life. It's going to give you a magic head start for sure. But seek some financial advice and keep working for a little bit longer, and then build up a good nest egg so that you can retire one day and, do what you want.
That sounds like excellent advice, very wise. And for anyone that is hoping to manifest a win or abundance or something into their life, what's your advice with that?
As Anthony Hopkins says, believe, believe, believe. Really believe. As Jim Carrey says, you get it when you believe you have it. That's the trick, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's not there, it's not there." That you're going in the wrong direction. You've got to believe that you have it, and don't force it. Just go back into your childhood mentality. When you're a child, you believe in things a lot easier. I mean, we believed in the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, until we got old enough and our parents took it away from us. And that's like, why, really? Or some kid at school, in my case, tells me there's no Santa, and I'm going home to Mum and saying, "Mum, this bloke says there's no Santa." And then she said, "Gary, he's right." And I think she was relieved, because then she's like, "Oh, now I don't have to keep playing this facade any longer." But they take it away from you. But when you're a child, it's so easy to believe. I could believe that I was shooting webs out of my hand because I was Spider-Man. I could believe in things, and I think you have to go back to that state. Not try too hard. Less is more, and believe that it's going to happen. And if you're a person that hasn't had a privileged upbringing like I did, to the extent where I had loving parents and that, you might have had it a bit tough. I think it's best to remember that you're loved somewhere by someone, and mostly just love yourself and believe in yourself. And you can be that child that if you didn't get that opportunity, you can be that child, and you can probably a better chance of being that child now. And believe in yourself, believe in what you want to do, whether it's manifesting money or some job or career you want to pursue. Just believe and see what happens. Who knows? But I do think it's all too unbelievably coincidental that it can just be, you've got to sort of now persist with it and say, yeah, okay, let's just keep going on this road, because this happened, and to many people, many people, as you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jim Carrey and his story. Many people aren't familiar that he actually wrote a check out to himself for $10 million and believed that that he was going to receive that, and then he got paid that much money, $10 million for, I think it was Dumb and Dumber. It's either that or The Mask. I'm not sure which movie.
The Mask.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very, and he's a huge advocate of manifestation and that sort of thing. So it's
Big time. He would go to the the top of Mulholland Drive and sit there until he believed that he had these things. So, he would believe that he was a popular actor, everybody wanted to work with him, and he wouldn't leave until he believed that it was true, and he'd drive back home believing that he was this magic megastar. And yeah, you're right, he wrote himself out a check for $10 million, and they paid him that for The Mask. So, he really does believe in it. And I think he's very far advanced in it as well.
It's very inspiring. He's very much into that. And so, Gary, is there anything else about your win or your experiences that I don't know enough to ask, or that you just want to say today? Or anything else that you just want to say?
I think it's important for people anyone out there that wants to try and manifest anything or believe in it, I think for Jim Carrey, he's an actor, so he's got a lot of good power to help him believe in things. I mean, these guys can change roles and become part of their role to, where they can, apparently takes them a while to come back down. Like the bloke who played Elvis recently, he still spoke a bit like Elvis, and he tried to put himself in those shoes. That might be an idea, to try something like that. Maybe become little bit of a different identity during the process. If you really believe that you've got X amount of dollars, that you've manifested that, and you believe that you've got it, then you've got to act as if you've got it through your day-to-day life as well. And I think anyone that's out there that wants to do that, less is more. Believe, and act as though you've got it, and don't doubt. And if you do start to get little doubts in your head, just because that's the intelligent mind telling you, but don't. Just cut it off and let the subconscious mind start to get used to the fact that you do have what you want to have.
Your win is absolutely incredible. I'm so happy for you. 1 million in Australia on Christmas Eve. It's incredible. Gary, thank you so much for your time today. Do you have anything else that you wanted to say today while we're here?
No, I think that's about it, mate. This is probably the third time, but believe to anybody that's watching this. Really believe. And good luck.
Thank you so much for your time, Gary. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim. Good on you, mate. It was my pleasure.
Before I won, I had this burning desire. Like, it felt like if I didn't go get these tickets, it was going to be the end of the world. I sit down and I'm looking at the ticket and I'm looking at my phone. I jump up and I go, babe, am I tripping or do these numbers match? I think we just won over $300,000. And he was like, no. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm serious. But that night we put it in a little tin can and we went to that tin can like 100 times. It was still a whirlwind, and that amount of money is life-changing.
Do you believe that you manifested this win?
1,000,000% believe that it is. You literally can manifest anything into your life.